With the trade deadline just around the corner, are the Arizona Cardinals going to make another big move? Let's dive right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Roll that intro. Alright everybody, welcome back in. Now, like I mentioned in the intro, today what I want to specifically talk about is the trade deadline, right? Are the Arizona Cardinals going to make a move? Now, when I look at this team right now, I'm actually very confused, right? Right now we're 3-4. We're still within the NFC West at this very moment, but what we've seen from the Arizona Cardinals were just a shell of what the Arizona Cardinals were in the beginning of the 2021 season. Now, granted, yes, we did win 11 games just because of all the games we won in the front part of last season, and now we're kind of finding ourselves in a just really weird situation. Now, I kind of got a gauge from a lot of different fans out there, right? They're saying things like, oh, it's over, scrap it up, fire Cliff, fire, Keim, all that different stuff. And then you got the other side, right, where there's a lot of fans that are still hopeful, right? DeAndre Hopkins came back. He definitely gave us the spark that we all needed, at least for this offense to kind of wake up. Now, I want to use the term wake up very loosely here, ladies and gentlemen, because I want to make sure I emphasize here that we did play the New Orleans Saints, right? And we did also play Andy Dalton. So one thing that I also want to say here is I think the real test and the real challenge is going to be the next week, week 8 versus the Vikings. That team right there is playing very good football. They got a really good record, and that's going to be the big test, right? I don't think the Arizona Cardinals so far this year have beaten a team that has a winning record. So I want to make sure that we all kind of realize that, right? So yes, it's still a W. It's still a W in the win column. We're 3-4, and everybody in the NFC West is struggling. So I think that's probably the light at the end of the tunnel for Arizona Cardinal fans, at least as of right now. But let's continue to talk about the trade deadline. If you guys don't know when that is, it is going to be on Tuesday, November the 1st, and it stops at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Now, I believe that is 1 p.m. Pacific/AZ time. That's when, the trade deadline stops and there's no more trades that happen after that. Now, going back to what I was saying was, with this team, I just don't know what team we are, right? I'm a little confused. Are we going to be sellers? Are we going to be buyers? What team are we going to be? Now, let's look at the positive side, right? Let's think of this as the Arizona Cardinals are, getting better with DeAndre Hopkins, and he's mainly the sole part of our offense. So let's think positive. Let's say we're going to the playoffs and we're looking into getting some, core positions. When I'm looking at the roster right now, I'm actually pretty not confident in the roster that we have, but I'm content with them, right? Like, we should be getting James Conner back here fairly soon, maybe if not next week, the following week, at least in my opinion. DeAndre Hopkins came back, which is an absolute huge win. We saw some, Greg George, we saw some Rondell Moore. AJ Green seems to be getting less and less snaps. Robbie Anderson's going to get a solidified role, hopefully starting next week. Our offensive line right now, DJ Humphries, Cody Ford, Billy Price. Now, keep in mind, Billy Price is going to be the guy until Rodney Hudson comes back. Then we got Will Hernandez and then Kevin Beachum. And obviously our tight end being, Zach Ertz. Looking at the offensive side of the ball, I don't really see a big need for a huge upgrade here. Now, I would honestly say anything that we can do to help our offensive line, either with depth or maybe even going out there for a starting piece, I think that would be huge, right? I think we all noticed that Kyler Murray has been, under duress a lot of these games, especially when you're playing a very good defensive line. I wouldn't say that about the Saints. I don't think they're a very good defensive line. I think that whole team's in shambles as of right now. So I'm not going to use that game as a kind of starting point, but our offensive line did fairly decent, right, against the Saints. So I do think that getting, a starting offensive lineman, either for depth or maybe a starting piece, would be huge for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, if you're going to ask me, Mike, who do I want? There's a lot of people out there, and when you're really looking, you got to look for those players that are in those struggling teams, right? So, let's say, for example, if somebody like one of our pieces and we lost against the Vikings, I don't know, we might be considered sellers at that very moment, but we'll have to kind of wait and see. Thankfully, we do have one more game before we can actually figure out what this team's going to look like moving forward into this 2022 season. Now, let's look on the defensive side of the ball. I like what I've seen on the defensive side of the ball. I feel like we've been progressing. We've just been getting better, and that's definitely a huge, kudos to Vance Joseph there. Obviously, if JJ Watt still stays healthy, he's a a beast. Zach Allen has really done very good things. I like what I've seen from the young guys, right? Victor Demikici, as well as Majay Sanders, especially Cam Thomas as well. So I like what I've seen from them. No disrespect to Marcus Golden or Dennis Gardeck. I love them as players, but I want to see them get a little bit more opportunities, so we can go ahead and give them some rest. Now, I'm not saying bench them or don't start them, but I do want to see what they can do. And obviously, the more opportunity they get, the more of a chance they can make an impact in the game. Now, the cornerbacks, I was very weary about. I was really scared about that. But man, Byron Murphy has been great so far. So Byron Murphy's been looking good. On the other side of the ball, Marco Wilson, I still do think he struggled. He had a pretty decent game versus the Saints. I'm not going to say here that, oh my God, his problems are fixed. No, I think he's still a young player that's getting better and better as the season goes on. But he's still struggling, right? Now, I do think Antonio Hamilton kind of gave us a spark. He definitely gave us a really good need here in the cornerback position. I do believe if I look at the defensive side of the ball, I'm happy with what we've seen. Isaiah Simmons, Zaven Collins. One position that I would love to upgrade is going to be the nose tackle. Rashad Lawrence did get hurt versus the Saints. Now, if he continues to not play, I know Licky Fotu is probably going to be the guy to come in his absence, but I would love the Arizona Cardinals to really get somebody for the nose tackle position. So for the offensive side of the ball, offensive lineman, either depth or a starting piece. So for the defensive side of the ball, I would love to possibly get a very strong nose tackle, somebody that's going to be able to stop the run, like before it even starts, right? Get penetration up the middle, that type of guy. And of course, if you're going to ask me right now, I don't really have anybody until I do a little bit more research, but that's a position that I feel like is this huge need for the Arizona Cardinals. Yes, you can also say edge, but what the young players are doing so far, I still want to see what they can do, right? I don't want to trade them off as assets when they can become great, right? Let's keep them going. Let's keep them being able to develop, but the nose tackle, I feel like I want to see more. Rashad Lawrence might be hurt. Licky Fotu might be the guy coming in, just really depending on the health of Rashad Lawrence, but that's going to be the position that I would love Steve Keim to upgrade in this trade deadline if we are going to be buyers and not sellers this year. So let me know what you guys think so far, ladies and gentlemen. Is there any rumors that you want me to go ahead and talk about? Put everything in the comments below. Is there a player that you guys want? Everything in the comments below, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day, and go Cards.